Hello, good evening. I thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Blake Burman. Breaking at this hour in position, the military's biggest battleship docked in Israel as the commander-in-chief suggests Iran isn't ready to deal.
We hit them real hard, as you know, with those beautiful B-2 bombers. I'd rather do it the peaceful way, but they're very difficult people.
So is the president on the verge of an Iranian strike? And tonight, why he's also talking about change in Cuba. Also this evening, Texas holds the cards. A double primary in the Lone Star State could help determine the balance of power. Plus, against all odds, children with cancer taking their fight from the hospital to the halls of power.
I mean, there's nothing I can do. The best thing I can do is make sure it doesn't happen to other kids.
How a new law hopes to fast-track life-saving treatments for many of our children. Plus, a fresh lead, potentially. Investigators actively reviewing, as they put it, new evidence from Nancy Guthrie's neighbors as Savannah Guthrie makes a new plea to bring her mother home. But first tonight, under oath again, but this time it's a first. Former President Bill Clinton testifying behind closed doors for hours today about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And before the first question was even asked, the former president vowing he did nothing wrong and saw nothing as well. Back at the White House, the current president did not endorse hauling Clinton in.
I don't like seeing them deposed, but, you know, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. I don't like seeing them. Look, I like them, and I don't like seeing them deposed.
The moment historic. It marks the first time a former president has been compelled to testify before Congress.
A new precedent has been set in America today. Now we have the Clinton rule, which is that presidents and their families have to testify when Congress issues a subpoena.
Richard Goodstein, former advisor to Bill and Hillary Clinton, standing by with us. But first, we go out to Chappaqua, New York. Our Jessica Cartalia live there with the very latest. Jessica, it was a deposition about 7 hours or so. I see some of the media filing out behind you, but I'd say not so fast, because last night it was the surprise of Hillary Clinton going before the cameras. Do we know yet if Bill Clinton will be speaking tonight?
Listen, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's not looking good at this point. We saw some Secret Service walking out a short time ago, which makes us think that he has probably already vacated the building, Blake.
And what's the latest there this hour in New York, Jessica? Obviously, he had 7 hours of testimony, and it seems like Republicans say they are not done, and even Democrats from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So they came out a short time ago, the Republicans, that is, and they spoke about this. We have a great soundbite from Nancy Mace where she's talking about next steps. They thanked former President Clinton for being here today, for going through this deposition. This after Hillary Clinton was deposed yesterday, also for 7 hours. We anticipated that today was going to be significantly longer, but again, we're wrapping up right around the same time. But I want to play for you what Nancy Mace said, because, of course, all of this is coming after there were so many photos of Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein. We were talking about him in the hot tub, right? He was also on his private jet several times. Clinton, however, maintaining throughout the day that no, he cut all ties 20 years ago prior to Epstein being a convicted sex offender. Here's what Mace had to say.
I want to thank President Clinton for being here today. He was here for a very long day. He did attempt to respond to every single question asked, even when his attorneys told him to shut up. He kept, going.
Okay, so now the other big takeaway from their conversation right after Mace spoke, Comer stood back at the podium, Blake, and said, look, we're going to try to turn this thing around for you in about 24 hours. They have to go back and make sure they clean up some of the sound. They said this is the unedited version, but they're going to, tweak it just a little bit so that the sound is clean. We had heard that they would send everything out, this unedited video, sometime next week, as well as an official transcript. However, he just mentioned they're going to try to turn it around in 24 hours, so we'll see.
Jessica, what were the Democrats saying throughout the day? Obviously, there's Republicans on the committee, Democrats as well. We just heard from Republicans. What was sort of the position from the Democratic members about the former leader of their party?
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting, Blake, because they talked repeatedly about how it was not right that Hillary was brought into all of this. That was a recurring theme throughout the day. The former president also saying, look, it was ridiculous. It was a huge waste of time. So that was one big takeaway. The other was that, you know, now that we've had a former president up here and they were deposed, you know, technically against their will, what's to stop us from seeing President Donald Trump being deposed as well? And we may not see it while he is a sitting president, but we could see it at some point afterward. So those were the two big takeaways from the Dems.
All right, Jessica Cartaya, live in New York. Stand by, Jessica, as well, in case news warrants throughout the hour. With us back once again, Richard Goodstein, Democratic strategist, former advisor to both Bill and Hillary Clinton. Hello, hello.
Nice to be back.
Thanks for being here on a Friday night. So I found it interesting. You heard from Congresswoman Mace there that the attorneys and multiple lawmakers said that at some point the attorneys were trying to hold Bill Clinton back, as attorneys often do, and the former president went further. What do you make of that from Bill Clinton?
He's awfully savvy. I mean, the notion that somehow or other he was going to trip up and because he was speaking too long against his lawyer's suggestions, I don't buy it. Look, the fact of the matter is this was a monumental waste of time. They were prepared to submit in writing, and they did, under oath. It was subject to perjury. What they did and didn't know, both Bill and Hillary. As I said yesterday, the Republicans know they're going to be in the minority. This is the way they get their jollies, is kind of whipping them up a little bit, appealing to the base. But I think at the end of the day, the people who are most fanatic about the Epstein files, the MAGA base, they're not going to be satisfied with this. And the reason they're not, in part, is you heard what President Trump said. Oh, I kind of feel sad for him having to testify. It's kind of what he said about the former Prince Andrew. He hasn't yet to say he feels badly for those women who were abused.
So you trust Bill Clinton?
I believe in this case, there's zero evidence. You know, there's these pictures that are people trying to manufacture, and I get it. People who were not in Bill Clinton's camp are dredging up these, videos from the Lewinsky stuff and trying to. This is how they get fun, but it's nothing.
So here was what Donald Trump said today, and what James Comer said today as well, and then we'll pick it up.
I like him, and I don't like seeing him deposed.
The president, Trump, has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved.
The President Clinton there, according to both James Comer in the middle of the day and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna after the day, basically suggested that there was nothing to see here with Donald Trump. If you trust Bill Clinton, then does that mean President Trump there exonerated? If essentially Bill Clinton says, you know what, there's really nothing to see here. We'll see the transcript. We'll see exactly what Bill Clinton says.
Yeah.
But if he goes down that path, does it eventually wipe away many of the questions for Donald Trump?
Bill Clinton wasn't there when Donald Trump walked into that dressing room with unclothed underage girls. Bill Clinton wasn't there.
Hold on.
As alleged by the women.
I mean, come on.
As alleged by the girls who were there. This is not, I'm not concocting something. This is on the record. You may not like to hear it, or people might not, but these girls who were these contestants, they said that, right? That he walked in on them.
So there's millions of files and there's millions of questions and a whole lot. And I'm not defending one side or the other. I'm just asking you as someone who knows Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
That if that's what he said, do you trust him?
He's not vouching. He's saying that in the discussions he had, and again, we'll see what the transcript says about it. I have a hunch that Comer twisted it a little bit. I don't think Clinton was vouching for Trump having clean hands with regard to Epstein. All he was saying, in their conversations, it's just never something that came up.
Here was Maxwell Frost, Democrat, earlier today. Roll it.
No one's above the law. That includes the President of the United States. And my hope is that our Republican colleagues, as we walk out of here today and go back to D.C., will join us in making sure that we can hear from Howard Lutnick, from Pam Bondi, and from President Trump.
Is the reality here, now that a former president has been hauled in for a deposition, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, like one side or the other, or could care less politically, is the reality, as someone who used to advise a former president, do you think it's at the point where every single president from here on out is going to be hauled in for something, whatever it may be?
No. I mean, is it...
You don't think so? Is the picture of Donald
Trump sitting before a House committee testifying under oath about this. Is that imaginable in the world that we live in? Is that thinkable to you? It's not to me.
What about Obama or Biden? If someone wants to bring that up at some point for anything, I'm not suggesting.
My point is, I just think that the Clintons decided to do this. They had nothing to hide. I think that's not entirely true as regards Trump in terms of not what his. I don't think he did anything criminal. But I think what he knew when he was quoted as saying in 2002, Jeffrey likes them on the younger side, I actually kind of think he did know about what it was that Epstein was up to. And I think that's what he'd have to testify to if he were under oath. I just don't see that happening.
I should note that James Comer said today that what they are looking at right now, what they're looking at as a committee right now, and at least from his perspective, is after 2008, after that plea deal was struck, who was around Jeffrey Epstein and socializing with him, because at that point he was convicted.
Right.
And so who was around him then? What did they know? Why were they around him? I think that's where the investigation potentially goes from here. Richard Goodstein.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it once again. All right. Other news tonight, speaking of investigations. Out in Arizona this evening, officials there reviewing surveillance footage of vehicles traveling through the Catalina foothills, near Nancy Guthrie's home around the time that she went missing a month ago. This is Savannah Guthrie, reposted a video today offering $1 million reward to anyone with information that leads to her mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie.
But we need to know where she is. We need her to come home. For that reason, we are offering a family reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads us to her recovery.
Senior national correspondent Brian Enton in Tucson tonight with the very latest. Brian?
Yeah, Blake, you mentioned that new surveillance video. There is video that was found about 2.5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house. There's a Ring camera on the side of a road, and it's actually
Brian,
a road that
Brian, I'm sorry. I gotta jump in. I'm going to come back to you in 1 second because obviously you have news there out in Arizona. But as you see on your screen here, I'm told the President of the United States in a local business there in Corpus Christi. There is a host of news around the world. Let's listen in briefly.
Hello, everybody. Did you like the State of the Union? Did you like the fact that the Democrats never stood up even for a child and for it's unbelievable. It is. They're crazy. They are. Well, I'm going to order some now. Okay, you ready? Can you handle this? Hamburgers for all. If this were a bar, I'd say drinks for all, but I don't drink. Right? You don't drink either, I hope. Okay, ready? Hamburgers for all. Can you handle it? Don't eat too much. Don't eat too much. Right? Nice to see you, everybody. Thank you very much. I like that hat. Thank you, darling. Your suit's good. Nice to see you, everybody. It's really great. We were here. Corpus Christi, you know, Corpus Christi likes me, and Texas likes me. We do. We won Texas by more votes than anybody, and I have to say this correctly because the fake news will call me out of it. But it's easy. We won. We got more votes than anybody in the history of Texas. That's pretty good. So thank you. Thank you. Including, I think, most of you, maybe all of you, right? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'm going to get some stuff for Air Force One, and I'm going to get the hell out of here, all right? Hamburgers for the whole place, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, Mr. President. We got you some shakes.
Now that sucker looks good. Look at that. That sucker looks good.
Mr. President. Number 47.
All right, so President Trump there, Corpus Christi, Texas. He gave a speech in the area, stopped by a local Whataburger there. As you see, one of the reasons why we dipped in to listen is there is a host of news all around the world. The commander-in-chief has a really big decision to make in the coming days and hours, potentially on Iran. He made some big comments today on that. John Teichert with me in a moment, or later in the show, I should say, on sort of what's before the president around the world. But back out here at home now to Tucson, Arizona, and our Brian Enton. Brian, I'm sorry I jumped in on you because with everything in the backdrop right now involving the commander-in-chief, we didn't want to miss a moment there in case news was made. But where you are this evening tonight, news as well in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, no problem, Blake. Something interesting I wanted to let you know about. There's this surveillance video that was found about 2.5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house on a road that locals had said it would be an easy way to get away without going with traffic cameras and avoiding all the major intersections. And this video showed a car going by at 2:36 a.m. the morning that Nancy Guthrie went missing. And you might be thinking, well, 2.5 miles away, how could that be connected? What's interesting is Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her phone at 2:28 a.m. And it takes exactly 7 to 8 minutes if you go down this sort of back road to get out of this neighborhood to pass that camera. So the timing matches up pretty much perfectly. So that's one of the reasons we know that investigators are now reviewing this video. They haven't given us much more detail on whether they think it could be a possibility or possibly related to the case beyond that. But it could be significant, Blake.
All right, our Brian Enton on the scene tonight. Brian, thank you. By the way, I hope you watch Brian's special here on News Nation this weekend. It's tomorrow night, Saturday evening here on News Nation. Still to come tonight, a conversation you'll only see on News Nation. That's, by the way, Brian's special, but still to come, curing cancer and how lawmakers are now trying to help children in the biggest battle of their life.
Honestly, I had to suck it up.
On the other side of the break are Joe Khalil, what lawmakers are doing for the good involving children and cancer. A story you don't want to miss when we return. Well, there is a new push tonight to find cures for childhood cancer, and it's driven by children with cancer who have turned into advocates for the cause. Our Joe Khalil joins us live tonight with the very latest on this one. Joe?
Yeah, Blake, with the odds stacked against them, and frankly, where the adults failed, these kids themselves with cancer and their families became their own champions and really brought the country forward, a major step toward potentially finding cures. In Washington, D.C., a city of power and influence, it's not uncommon to see big ballrooms like this full of advocates trying to change laws. What is rare, though, is to see an unassuming kid like Logan Schenker leading the way. When I talk to you, I don't feel like I'm talking to a teenager. Did you get that a lot? I
do. I think there definitely is something about going through that whole treatment process that matures you very quickly.
Logan was only 9 when he was diagnosed with medulloblastoma, brain cancer. 4 intense rounds of high-dose chemo kept the cancer at bay, but at age 14, he's still dealing with the physical effects of the treatment. Like many kids battling cancer, he missed out on a lot of what one might call a normal childhood.
Honestly, I had to suck it up. I mean, there's nothing I can do. The best thing I can do is make sure it doesn't happen to other kids.
Which brings us back here. After Logan was diagnosed, his older sister, Alyssa, became an advocate for him and for all kids with cancer. Soon, Logan did too. He realized there was a ton of money going to research for treatments, drugs, and cures for adult cancer, but much less for childhood cancer. The reason? Profit.
It's not enough of a market to say.
The response I got back from the pharmaceutical companies was, there's no market incentive. There's no market share. I looked at, okay, there's no market incentive. How about if we create one?
Congressman Michael McCall sponsored a bill that would eventually be called the Michaela Nalon Give Kids a Chance Act. The bill allows companies that develop childhood cancer therapies to get a voucher and skip the line to get FDA approval for any other drug they're working on. After years of trying, it became law earlier this month. McCall says already more than 60 child therapies have been developed since. And for the congressman, this fight is personal. When he was 12 years old, his own best friend died of a treatable cancer.
I do know it made a major impact in my life, both then and now. And I think that's how God works.
Blake, first of all, I want to thank Logan and their family for helping us tell that story through their own story. And I want to mention Michaela Nalon, the girl for whom this bill is named. She sadly lost her battle with cancer late in October of this year. She was just 16 years old. Her family continues to work on this issue and is in touch with Congressman McCall still.
The spirit and fight obviously always lives on. Joe Khalil live for us tonight up on Capitol Hill. Joe, thank you. Be sure to tune in tonight for a special edition of Cuomo. Why can't we cure cancer? It's a national conversation that airs right here on News Nation just an hour and a half from now, 8 o'clock Eastern. Hope you tune in. Well, still to come tonight, other side of the break, a make or break moment with Iran. The commander-in-chief sending his clearest signal yet. The time is running out, and regime change is not out of the question.
It'd be nice if we could do it without, but sometimes you have to do it with.
Plus, a clash of the titans. The Pentagon battling not just one, but several AI companies over privacy concerns tied to the software. And this is just the beginning. Those headlines and the bottom of the stories at the top of the hour here as we head on into the newsroom for some of the biggest stories of the day. Bottom of the hour, some of the top stories coming into our newsroom tonight. And we start in Chappaqua, New York, where the former President Bill Clinton took questions today in the House Oversight Committee's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, a day after his wife, the former First Lady, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, did the exact same. The Clintons being questioned about their past ties to Epstein, though neither has been accused of any formal wrongdoing. Bill Clinton saying in his opening remarks that he saw nothing and did nothing wrong. Republicans and Democrats alike taking to the podium today to react to the testimony, both sides bringing up the current president.
And the president went on to say that the president, Trump, has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved.
We should depose the person that is mentioned in the Epstein files almost more than any other person next to Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's Donald Trump.
Videos of the Clintons' testimonies are expected to be released at some point here in the coming days. Well, from our partners tonight over at the Hill, big changes coming to the breakfast aisle at a Target near you. The national retailer will only sell cereal that's made without certified synthetic colors, starting in May. The directive includes national and well-known cereal brands. It comes as the HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his department ramp up pressure on food companies to eliminate synthetic dyes from its products. Out now from our affiliate WREG in Memphis, Tennessee. That is the global hub of FedEx. And the delivery giant now vowing that it will pass along any tariff refund it gets to shippers and customers who might have paid them. At least 1,800 companies, including Costco, Revlon, Barnes and Noble, Goodyear as well, are suing the government to recoup tariff costs after the Supreme Court ruled the president did not have the power to impose them. A growing number of Democratic state governors as well calling for refunds for Americans. Maryland's Wes Moore, for example, the latest to join that effort, saying each household in his state, he believes, is owed about $1,700. Well, breaking tonight, there is a major shift for the U.S. military and its future using artificial intelligence. The commander-in-chief, President Trump, demanding all federal agencies stop using a popular AI software called Claude. It's from Anthropic. That's the parent company. And the president writing today on social media that, quote, the U.S. will never allow a radical left woke company, as he puts it, to dictate how our great military fights and wins wars. The move likely marks the end, at least for now, who knows where this goes, of an intense fight between the Pentagon and Anthropic. The Department of War demanding the company remove guardrails for its artificial intelligence. But the CEO apparently refusing over concerns about fully autonomous weapons and mass surveillance of Americans. The U.S. military reportedly used Claude during its raid to capture Nicolas Maduro. More generally, AI helps the military with a host of things from intelligence to research. The Department of War just deemed that Anthropic is now a supply chain risk, adding that the company has 6 months to, quote, allow for a seamless transition to a better and more patriotic service. Well, across the globe tonight, there are eyes no matter where you are on the Middle East, with more U.S. fighter jets and warships moving into the region, just ahead of President Trump's deadline for Iran to agree to a nuclear deal.
I'm not happy with the fact that They're not willing to give us what we have to have. So I'm not thrilled with that. We'll see what happens. We're talking later. We'll have some additional talks today. But no, I'm not happy with the way they're going.
American F-22 stealth fighter jets arriving in Israel in clear striking distance of basically every target in Iran. The U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, warning embassy staff that if they choose to leave, they should do so today. And a top White House official posting this video of B-2 bombers. Those, of course, the same stealth fighters that the president used to strike Iran last year. Retired Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert with me in a moment. But first, live out to Tel Aviv, where we find our Robert Sherman in what could be in the middle of a region with a whole lot of questions here in the coming hours, Robert.
And there's widespread recognition of that, Blake. The tension is palpable here. People are waiting to see what move is made or if anything comes of this building of firepower that's here. But the U.S., well, not taking any risks here, telling embassy staff members who are at a non-emergency level that they're free to go if they do want to leave immediately. This is some of the guidance that the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem handed down today. It reads in part, quote, persons may wish to consider leaving Israel while commercial flights are available. I want to be clear here, Blake. We have not seen guidance like that given by the U.S. Embassy here since last summer, the 12 days war with Iran. Meanwhile, you have more firepower that is arriving here in the region, namely the USS Gerald Ford, after it departed from the Greek Isles yesterday, now here in the Middle East, giving the U.S. 2 aircraft carriers here in the region, no shortage of sailors, no shortage of troops here as well. With the president saying he doesn't want to put them to use, but is prepared to do so if Iran doesn't change its tune. Take a listen.
Well, they should make a deal, but they don't want to quite go far enough, and it's too bad. Look, we've been playing with them for 47 years. And that's a long time. But every month there's something else, so you can't put up with it too long. We're not happy with the negotiation.
Meanwhile, Oman's foreign minister taking a last stab at diplomacy, meeting with Vice President J.D. Vance in Washington. Oman has served as this chief mediator between Tehran and Washington and says he believes they're close to a deal, but there isn't one secured yet. Blake?
Our Robert Sherman, live tonight in the Middle East. Robert, thank you. With me now, retired Brigadier General John Teichert, command pilot with more than 2,000 flight hours in nearly 40 different aircraft. General, I told you we'd be talking a lot. Here we are. Nice to see you. This is the Ford, okay? Biggest aircraft carrier strike group in the world, right?
Yes.
Biggest, baddest thing that we have.
Absolutely. Okay. Poised now in the Eastern Mediterranean, ready to go.
Okay, so the Ford was on the move from Greece. It's now in Israel. When he talks about the location here, let's go to the map here for a second, because this is what I want to get into, General. Where are troops? Where are asset? Where the military is stationed tonight? So if this is the Ford, and it's just off the west coast of Israel in Haifa. This is Iran, and then the Abraham Lincoln is right here off the coast of Iran. So you've got a carrier group here, a carrier group there. It seems to me that that's to defend Israel and our troops in the region if there's a strike, and that's attack purposes as well. Is that sort of the setup here?
Blake, I think you're generally right. For sure, the Lincoln is there to support strikes into Iran. I think there's 3 things that the Ford can be doing. Number 1, it can defend assets in and around Israel. Number 2, it can strike. It's about 1,000 miles from the Eastern Mediterranean to Tehran. That's 2.5 hours each way, supported by air refueling aircraft. It can do that. And then number 3, it doesn't have the limitations of being based out of countries that might limit what our aircraft could do. It's sovereign U.S. territory, and so it doesn't have some of those limitations that other aircraft poised in the region otherwise have.
You heard Robert Sherman talk about the steps that were made today in Israel for U.S. Embassy staff and sort of how, I don't want to use the word unprecedented, but how extremely unusual it is. You see that, that's kind of what we woke up to this morning on the news front. And then I heard this from President Trump earlier today. Roll it.
Look, we've been playing with them for 47 years, and that's a long time. They've been blowing the legs off our people, blowing the face off our people, the arms. They've been knocking out ships one by one. But every month there's something else, so you can't put up with it too long.
Add all this up for me, General.
Yeah, I think the president was waiting for two things to make the decision to strike. Number one,
which, by the way, he hasn't.
He hasn't.
Right,
we don't
right.
know that
we
he
don't
has.
know. Right. But you believe it could be these two. So
it could be. Number one, he believes that there's no fruit to be had in subsequent negotiations.
Okay.
And number two, he's convinced that U.S. forces in the region, both offensively and defensively, are postured in order to achieve his objectives at a sufficient level of risk. Both of those are unknown, but I think those are the factors that he is considering about when and where to strike.
When you talk about unknowns and factors and risks, what are the elevated risks as this is all sort of being weighed right now?
Blake, the largest risk, the way that Iran can project power is via its ballistic missiles. It has about 1,000 of them. That means that the first targets that our forces need to go after are warehouses that hold those missiles, or production facilities, or the launchers that launch those ballistic missiles, because they are the way that Iran could do harm to the U.S. and our interests, and we need to neutralize them immediately.
There's an interesting battle that's taking place nowhere near any of this, and that's with AI, between the Secretary of War and the head of Anthropic, which runs Claude. We saw the post from the commander-in-chief today, basically saying, get it out of the United States government. Explain to me and to our audience here how intertwined this is right now and what a big deal in sort of this new age of sort of warfare that we're on, that now there's a battle over what you can and cannot use with AI and our military. That's the post from the president.
Absolutely, Blake. Just to give an example, likely Anthropic, that AI system, is being used to war plan against Iran. That means that you give it our objectives, our resources, and the threats, and then you let it iterate again and again and again to come up with the best possible war plan. It's the only AI system right now approved for use on classified DoD systems. That means that once we phase it out, that we either need to replace it immediately or we don't have that type of capability. It was likely used in Venezuela.
Yeah, so it was potentially used in Venezuela as well. Weren't OpenAI and Grok like involved with the military as well? Like I guess there's a lot of this now, right?
There is. They can be used for resourcing decisions or acquisition decisions, but right now Anthropic is the only one that can be used on classified systems.
All right, we've been talking a lot about Iran and this. The president said something today, General, about Cuba, given the news there earlier this week. Here it was.
The Cuban government is talking with us. They're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money, they have no anything right now, but they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba.
What's a friendly takeover?
My guess is that he's thinking about either diplomacy or working covertly with opposition groups within Cuba to try to find a way to turn the government to something that is friendly to the United States. But as you know, we are very stretched thin in a variety of ways right now, focused on Iran. This would be an addition that would be tough to simultaneously tackle.
Well, we're very stretched thin, but by the way, that from there is just 90 miles as we zoom in, just to show you sort of how close all of this is in our backyard. The commander-in-chief with a lot on his mind tonight. John Teichert, General, with us here tonight to break it all down. I'll see you next week.
You got it. Thanks, Blake.
All right, thanks. By the way, the U.S. has positioned more than 100 fighter jets, 100 fuel tankers as well, and over 200 cargo planes alone this month, speaking to the General's point here about sort of how our assets and our military are stretched tonight. All right. Big spending and an even bigger turnout. We saw President Trump in Texas today, and there was good reason that he was in the Lone Star State. What the primaries are telling us about the all-important midterms. Live look there, Austin tonight, 5:43 in the Lone Star State. Chris Steyerwalt warming up with me on the other side.
We have a great Attorney General, Ken Paxton. Where's Ken? Hi, Ken. Hi, Ken. And we have a great Senator, John Cornyn. Hi, John. Thank you, John. They're in a little race together. You know that, right? A little bit of a race. It's going to be an interesting one, right? They're both great people. Wesley Hunt, doing a good job. Thank you, Wesley. Well, you do have an interesting election. You have a
That's one way to put it. And the president not putting his thumb on the scale today as it relates to the Republican primary in Texas, even as all three candidates in the competitive Senate race showed up to today's event in Corpus Christi. Next week, voters will head to the polls in the Lone Star State in a primary election that could set the tone for politics this year. Joining me now to break it all down, Chris Stirewalt, host of The Hill Sunday, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Hello, sir. Happy Friday.
Would you look at that? That's pretty close.
That is pretty close. That's a sitting senator, a sitting member of Congress, and the attorney general out there in Texas. And notable today that Donald Trump isn't weighing in on any of this.
And Ken Paxton is also helped by the fact that I think that's his high school yearbook photo. They haven't updated that in a minute. Look, if the most likely scenario plays out on the Republican side and Paxton and Cornyn advance into the runoff, if the president fails to endorse there and try to bring this to a faster conclusion, it's going to be extraordinarily expensive and it's going to be extraordinarily damaging. The ads that they're running against Paxton has a lot of baggage, personal and in office. He's a badly damaged candidate already. If he's the one who's going to come out of this, Donald Trump needs this to end sooner rather than later. And another month of a vicious campaign highlighting his flaws is not helpful for Republicans.
Why do you think Trump went there and didn't endorse? Are there concerns or why?
I think he went there because he wanted to have a nice audience, and I think he wanted to have the big ships behind him in the bridge, and it felt good. Okay. And it's sort of their it's their what the president very clearly said today was, this is your problem, this is not my problem. The good news for John Cornyn is that John Thune and his fellow Republicans in the Senate have convinced the president that what he really wants is Cornyn to be the candidate down there, because if it's Paxton, it's going to be way too expensive and way too damaging.
By the way, with the poll showing it at 4%, the betting markets have Paxton at 80% winning that, so the money's...
And because Paxton has consistently, he led in early polls, and that's been the narrative around it. But this runoff, who knows?
Other side, there's a big one there, too, and it's Jasmine Crockett on the Democratic side of the aisle, who's the sitting congresswoman from Texas, and James Tallarico. She's known here in Washington and on the cable news circuit. He got famous when Joe Rogan, he went on the podcast, Chris, and Joe Rogan was like, maybe you could be the president of the United States one day, and oh boy, look at that, dead tied.
We should be clear, we have no good polling in this race.
Okay, so you don't trust any of this?
I mean, it's not that I don't trust any of it, but it's mostly garbage polling, and we don't really know what's going to happen. Crockett is favored, and more polling has shown her with the advantage there, but the perceived victory for the likelihood of Jasmine Crockett's victory is what is allowing Republicans to engage in this circular firing squad that they're in, because they know that Jasmine Crockett is almost as bad of a candidate as Ken Paxton would be. And the good news for Republicans is if you have two bad candidates in a state, the state's just going to revert to its partisanship, and Texas's partisan advantage is Republican. So you need something. What Cornyn is telling Republicans is that if James Tallarico gets through this thing, he can beat Ken Paxton. And he can, right? That's actually true. And what Cornyn's saying is, just don't take that chance. Pick me again. In case this guy gets through, we don't want the problem.
By the way, Trump was there highlighting the Republicans today. Kamala Harris came out and cut a robocall for Jasmine Crockett, throwing her name into the race as well. So here's part of the reason why this is getting so much attention. Obviously, a lot of big-name candidates, the president of the United States there, et cetera. But look at the early voting ballots cast. Wait a minute, Chris. Texas is a deep red state, and I'm looking at Democrats there in the early voting. This is, again, just for the primary, but it suggests more enthusiasm than Republicans, or don't look at this either?
Oh, no. Look
at this. Okay.
So this is 3 times more than Democrats had 4 years ago in the last midterm election. This is more than 3 times more Democrats had in 2022. The enthusiasm and the intensity on the Democratic side in Texas is extraordinary. Now, they've been Beto'd before, right? They get all hyped up. Texas is going to turn blue, and Wendy Davis or Beto O'Rourke or whoever, and it's a fizzle in the end. This is real. This is a powerful number. Now, the problem, and you alluded to it with Kamala Harris's robocall, this this is also getting ugly. That has been ugly the whole time. The Paxton Cornyn race has been heinous. Right. This is getting ugly, and it's being charged with allegations of racism. Jasmine Crockett says that the people who say that she's not electable statewide are saying so because they're racist. And that's essentially what she's accusing James Tallarico of. Those are hard things to put back in the bottle once you've let them out.
Chris Direwalt, you got the best Sunday show in the business.
Gosh,
you got
that's
coming on
true.
this weekend. You got some Texas flavor.
We should get ready with that. No, we do. We have the chairman of the Republican National Committee.
Very cool.
We also have, you're going to meet Kendall Scudder, who's the chairman of the Texas Democratic Party. We're going to talk to him about that. And we're going to talk to Senator Todd Young from Indiana. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to love it.
All right. Hope you check my guy out Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern here on News Nation, the best Sunday show there is. Catch you then, my man.
Namaste.
All right. Be sure to tune in, by the way. Chris will be involved in this, too, for News Nation's coverage of the primaries in Texas, Arkansas, North Carolina as well. Our Connell McShane will be updating you on key races for the House and the Senate. Chris and I will be hanging out on the digital side as well. I hope you join us on the digital stuff. Very cool. Still to come tonight here on News Nation, Elizabeth Vargas Reports is next. She is following the latest in the Nancy Guthrie case, including some new ring cam video. Will that crack the case? That's seconds away here on News Nation. I thank you so much for being with us tonight here on the Hill. I'm Blake Burman. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday. Elizabeth starts right now.